everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Cyber. And today we have with us Phil Howie. He's the founder and CEO of Onwardly. And people know Phil, as the founder and CEO of Onwardly. But what is that people don't know about you? I would like to know from you, Phil. That something that you would like to share with people that people don't know about you, apart from being the founder and CEO of Onwardly?
Sure, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. It's a real honor to be here. And things that people don't know about me. I think I've kind of bounced around the startup and tech space for quite a while, so there's probably not too many surprises there. I think perhaps what they don't know is I live out West Auckland. So I actually grew up out far West Auckland. They might not know that, where we have great beaches, we have awesome native bush, awesome
Yeah.
scenery. So it's kind of a perfect place to live. So that's where I reside now. And also, I come from a family of artists, which is
Wow.
interesting because I don't consider myself an artist, but my mother was a great artist. My sisters are both fashion designers. My grandmother was another artist as well. So I kind of have this kind of heritage of artistry, I guess. And as I go on, I realize how much that's woven into what I do, even as a technical person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something people may not realize about me uh, uh, if they've worked with me even.
What is your art side? Like what you really enjoy? Do you paint? Do you sing? Do you?
I just get fussy and picky with visual details. I think that's my contribution. No, I mean I think I appreciate aesthetic aesthetic quality and
Mhm.
things. I like the composition of things, and I sort of always had that, and I didn't really realize I had that until perhaps later in my career, and when I could sort of wrap some words around that and understand. Oh, okay, I gravitated towards design and user experience, I think partly because I have that sort of innate desire for things to, be presented well, but also to be functional and usable, and just to have, really high quality things. And I think that's some of that, that, you know, and is what you would call art, I guess, or artistry. And I've, that's just kind of part of who I am.
Mhm. Well,
Mm.
when I talk to people who come from artistic backgrounds, they always say that they like, as you said, high quality things, but they also like perfection. So
Mm.
with Onwardly, do you get really, really picky? Oh, this I don't like this. I think we can do it a little bit better.
Yeah, like I think I call myself a recovering perfectionist because I think perfectionism is
Recovering.
actually kind of it can be a real hindrance, to be honest with
Yeah.
you, and I think it can stop you doing things, and it can kind of cause hang-ups and delays. So people who have worked with me may be laughing right about now. I look at something I am a bit of a perfectionist, but I don't think it's a good thing. I think sometimes you have to just get on and do things, and yes, do things to a reasonable level, but it can and get on and get things moving.
I
So
I just admire perfectionism and people who can do things perfectly because I am nowhere close to being perfect. I can't do things perfectly. So yeah.
yep.
So I'm really curious how one goes from being a web developer to the founder of Onwardly. What's the backstory here?
Yeah, that is a good question. What does a web developer have any business, starting a security company? And sometimes I ask that myself as well. I think if, every founder has a healthy sense of imposter syndrome here. I got started in my career pretty early on as a web developer in the late '90s, early 2000s. So I've been doing web development for a long time, and really about 10 years ago, about a decade ago, kind of ventured into the product, the startup and product world.
Mhm.
Prior to that, it was all, client services, designing websites. You'd sort of do one project and then sort of move on to the next one. So product land is different, as many people know, and I think more and more people have had product experience now. But I think a decade ago, a lot of people hadn't, and really they were coming from a very much a kind of a client services perspective. So one of the startups I got involved in was this little thing called Pushback,
Yeah.
and really kind of cut my teeth in the startup world through that business. I was there, employee number one, really on the ground from day zero, pretty much. One of my best friends started it with his business partner. And we really went from, we're not sure if there's much of an idea here or this is going to work to, to the obviously the huge Kiwi success story that it became.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a huge training ground really for learning how to think about not just only technical and dev side of things. I built the first version of PushPay myself and the prototype. But really through that experience, learned to think about product and learned to think about design and user experience, and really just learned what a successful growth story even looks like from the inside. So that business hired some phenomenally brilliant people who I got to learn from and get to see how startups really work.
Mm-hmm.
And through that experience, kind of had a lot of exposure to user experience design. Ended up actually leading the entire UX team at PushPay at its peak. We had sort of about 8 researchers and designers, all looking about taking a very human-centered design approach to building the product. Which I think we did a lot of research, we did a lot of talking to customers, we did a lot of user testing and things like that. So I really enriched I guess my experience as a web developer with this other side of it in terms of user experience design.
So
Uh,
your experience with PushPay was not just as developer behind the desk. It was more, customer facing and talking.
yeah, very custom facing. We were talking to sort of four or five customers a week regularly. In the US remotely, and really working really closely with the product team as well. So that product sensibility, I sort of developed a lot of that through that journey as well. So I took that to my next role as a CTO at a local company called Whip Around.
Yeah.
And there, really, the idea for something like Onwardly, came about. And so the seeds were planted for doing a startup. The idea came about for Onwardly at that role as well. So the role there was really all involved as a CTO. You know that you're crazy busy. There's so much to do. There's never enough time in the day to
Mm-hmm.
do all that work. And security is usually just kind of one of many priorities that sort of fall
Yeah.
on you as in a smallish company to do. And I found myself in this situation, and I started looking around for options about how to do this. And I wasn't particularly satisfied with what the market really had. There would seem to be sort of really 2 options. One was to kind of do it yourself
Yeah.
and figure it all out, which you don't really have the time for with experience, or you hire in the consultants who do
Yeah.
a great job, but they're really expensive and out of the reach for many companies.
For small
So
businesses.
there doesn't seem to be kind of this nice product-led experience that could help me both establish and operate an effective security program across the business in a way that's really affordable, that's quick, and that I could go at my own pace, even enlist some of my team members to help me do it. And so I created Onwardly, and the seeds for that idea were sown there. And then once I finished up in that role, I had some time to myself, and the pandemic kind of set in. I thought now's a great time to start a company,
Wow.
like all reasonable, rational, sane people do. I started Onwardly, and that was last year.
So when people were having fun in the lockdown, you were actually creating Onwardly.
Yeah, I don't know about having fun was the right quite the way
And
to
I am
describe it.
saying this. I'm saying this because I was having fun.
Oh, you having fun?
Yeah, for 3 months. I think initially I was like, wow, I don't have to do anything. I was, But then, yeah,
Right,
after 3 months, I
right.
realized I have to do something. So I founded Security Lit in that time.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, similar story actually. I think similar story. Like I was doing some consulting work, and I had about 5 projects all sort of lined up, ready to
Mhm.
go. And then one by one, they all just froze and got pushed out because the pandemic was setting in. And this was sort of February, March last year in 2020.
Yeah.
And so by April, all my work had just vanished. It had all gone. And I found myself sitting at home with everybody else, kind of going, okay, what's next?
What's next?
Do we hustle and try and find that work and sort of rebuild that consulting pipeline of work, or do I put into motion something that I've been planning and working on for sort of kind of 3 to 4 months prior, and decided to start Onwardly. So really, the pandemic, as it set in, I had lots to do, and that was to build the very foundations of what would become the business.
So how does it now feel that Onwardly is now a reality? This.
Yeah, it feels great. It's quite surreal. You work really hard, and each gate you go through feels like a huge step. But in retrospect, it seems kind of trivial. Even just announcing that, hey, look, I'm starting this thing was a big kind of deal for me. I'm like sweating as I'm pushing the enter button on like the LinkedIn post.
Oh my God.
Uh,
When I started, because at least you had the web development background and you've had your experience with these big companies. But when I was starting,
mm,
I had literally nothing.
right, right.
I sent around 200 plus emails or maybe messages on LinkedIn.
Mm,
And, I'm sure people didn't take me seriously because what is this girl trying to do here, knowing nothing about cybersecurity and she wants to do this. So I can
sure.
I can relate that pushing that enter button can be very daunting when you're just starting out.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's kind of the point, right? Like I think startups are about starting something, and
Yeah.
every day it's turning up and starting something new, and even now, like, and I think this will never stop, to be honest. It's leaning into something I literally don't know how to do,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, I haven't done this before, I haven't raised capital before, I haven't built this type of product before, I haven't recruited these, everything is new, all the way from like literally forming a company and announcing it and talking to people and recruiting, potential early customers right the way through. And I think that's the big lesson for me is that you just have to turn up and start.
Yeah.
You just have to start, and it feels messy. It feels imperfect. It feels like people might criticize you or whatever. But you get through. You start, and then you get through that particular next milestone. You look back and you go, okay, well that was it maybe wasn't as scary as it needed to be,
Yeah.
and you just keep going.
I think
You know,
it's a beautiful learning experience. That's what I say. When I look back, I was scared as hell, but if I look at myself, 1.5 year ago, I think I've achieved. I'm not saying I've achieved too much, but at least forming the company, getting the right people, making that connection where we're speaking today
mm,
and making those genuine connections. It really feels great, and the
yeah.
support in the community is just amazing. So
And
yeah,
I think the secret is the further you go, the more sort of knowledge and experience you pick up along the way. And I think you gain more connections, which help you out. And so the community really helps you, and that's an amazing thing. And I think that's the same probably everywhere. But the New Zealand community is super friendly. It's
super friendly.
super helpful. People will give you time, knowledge, and advice, and often it's pretty good as
Yeah,
well. So massive. I'm massively appreciative of that. I mean, you don't really. It almost takes like a community to raise a startup.
yeah.
You don't really do it by yourself. Yeah.
No, it's not possible. When people ask me, how do you do it? It's like, I wouldn't be here where I am today without the support of these amazing people. So, yeah, if it's not just me, it's the whole community because
Mm,
they are the
agreed.
ones who are saying, we're here, keep doing your thing and we'll support you. So, yeah, really, really grateful to be part of this community.
Yeah, indeed.
And what's your vision with the establishment of Onwardly?
So my vision is really to bring security to everyone, and I know that sounds pretty broad, but really it's enabling businesses and organizations to really defend themselves, to bring a good security practice to their organization, really across the whole world. This is a global problem. It's not
Yeah,
just in New Zealand. It's not just in Aussie. It's really everywhere. And I think we're seeing a sea change of awareness around this. We're seeing heightened expectations around around dealing with security, whether it's from a vendor point of view or from a supplier. It's just becoming more of an issue, I think, and finally it's kind of having its day in the sun a little bit, where I think people need to wake up and take this a lot more seriously than
yeah,
perhaps they have been. And I think, but the challenge is that it's hard, it's a little bit hard to understand. It's not super accessible to everybody yet, although there's some really really good companies on that mission to make it so. And really, I'm joining in and sort of saying, okay, look, this stuff needs to be more easily achievable for many, many, many organizations, where at the moment it's either too expensive or too hard or both. And so my vision is really to solve these problems and bring it to the rest of the world in a way that's just really delivered from a sort of almost consumer level quality experience. Kind of coming back to my sort of design roots, I think a lot about in visual terms, really making just a really, really amazing experience for people to learn and to operate security work from within whatever organization they're part of.
Awesome. Because at Security Lit, we understand that security is it's important, but it when you're starting small, it we understand it's hard to do security when you're small, right? So
Mm,
I think a company who's just starting out, they shouldn't feel that ah we can't go out to these companies because they're expensive. So
mm,
they
mm,
need companies like Onwardly and the great vendors out there who are supporting small businesses, startups. Because I think if we shield them from these attacks, from cybersecurity, I think they'll keep on building new products. They will prosper, and they'll do amazing things in the product space. So I
yeah.
think you're doing an amazing thing to support these people.
Yeah, I think and I think really likewise to you too. I think I think the bigger, more established businesses have been quite well served in terms of security products and security professionals. There's no shortage of really expensive security products out there.
Yeah.
I think where the smaller end of town has been really underserved. Lots of stuff are just simply out of their reach.
Yes.
So I'm looking to almost kind of really fill that gap where people can't afford professional help necessarily, but they want to get something done and they want to get it done in a really cost efficient, easy way compared to the alternatives.
And
So I
and
think
when
there's a huge opportunity there.
And there is a big gap because when I was doing my research, when I was looking at the marketplace of security companies, I couldn't find companies who would, focus especially on the smaller size
Mm,
businesses.
mm,
Um, and I understand why, because it's expensive. We invest a lot of time training them, so it's a lot
yes,
goes into the process. Because if you don't understand cybersecurity, how will you buy a product? So I
yes,
understand that.
yes.
But I'm really happy that people like you and others are thinking about the community and building these products. And when you mentioned that with Onwardly, companies can improve and begin to operate their security programs, what do you mean? Will there be an instructor from Onwardly, or will they be providing scenarios of how they can be exploited, or something else?
Yeah, yeah, good question. So, a lot of people I initially talk to about Amelie think it's a kind of an advisory service or a sort of a consultancy-backed service. It's not the case. It's a pure product play, and inherent in the belief around Omidly is that everybody has the capability to do security work.
Yeah.
They just may not know how. They may not have the right resources to do it, or even tooling that's going to help them achieve what they need to achieve. So really, we built a product which is designed for people, for businesses. Usually, it's a CTO or a head of engineering or a CFO, potentially someone who sort of carries that risk. Sometimes even the actual security professionals themselves who work in businesses, the CISOs, things like that. It's really built for them to operate and use this product in a self-led fashion and recruit the help of their team members and things like that, and really go through without the need to pull in external help initially. Certainly to get the basics right and to do the fundamentals really really well. Everyone can do that, and really what we're trying to do is help them do it really efficiently, and lower that barrier to entry. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm just curious. Do you always wanted to build your own product, or business? I think we've touched on this, but is it because of the
Mm.
need of the moment, or that you came up with Onwardly, or was it something else?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, right? Like I mentioned, sort of the startup experience that I've had planted that seed for building a company myself. I think it's quite infectious when you're part of these environments. And I think you have to be a little bit crazy, to be honest, to to build a startup, to build a company. That's not necessarily the most rational choice. I think you could probably earn a lot more money, just in a role, in a senior role. There's a lot less risk, and there's no guarantees this will work out, right? But I think people who start companies just can't imagine themselves doing anything else really, and so here I am. I'm kind of one of those people, and
That's
and
why
I wanted,
that's
yeah,
why I don't take anything against startup people, because I say these people are very brave. Okay, you don't know what they're doing.
yeah. Some people use different adjectives, but I think overall this is something I've really wanted to do for a long time, and I think being part of two or three startups now, it's been quite. I think that environment is infectious. I like pushing and building something. I like sort of pioneering something. And so really, it's a personal challenge, a mountain to climb as much as anything. You know, I think there's a huge problem. I want to see this problem solved. I want to see it
Yeah.
solved on a global scale, but it's a huge personal challenge at the same time. So, yeah.
Cool. And coming from the cybersecurity company myself, one of the biggest challenges that we face is actually trying to convince companies of how important cybersecurity is for them
Mm,
as business and their customers. How are you thinking of addressing it in your company? I'm sure you
yeah,
do
that's
that
yeah,
already.
that's a good question. Like, I think the current climate, is certainly doing a lot to convince people to take security a little bit more seriously. I think, we've all seen the recent sort of attacks and things like that over the last kind of couple of years, especially during pandemic time. So I don't think, I don't think I need to sell fear or
Yeah.
really to emphasize the importance of this. The security industry for so long has really sold fear. It's sold big scary numbers, doom and gloom. But I think people are kind of sick of that. I think they're
Yeah.
kind of tired of that approach. And I just, from a values angle, don't really want to subscribe to that either. And I think there are some great people who also take that view in the industry. And so really, I think there are some amazing benefits to doing security well, right? And I mean, obviously, just defending your business is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I think every company should realize that. But also, you can help grow your business, help win more deals, help impress investors and prospects and things like that with good security credentials, right? These are further benefits to doing security well. And so if you can talk about growth and about stability and about being well organized and well defended, this can really
Yeah.
help businesses achieve their goals further down the line. So it shifts it from being kind of this problem that's all negative to actually a way to help them grow their businesses. And for startups, it's all about growth. And so we see actually a lot of security initiatives are started just simply to help them grow, which is fine. I think that's a good motivation as much as anything.
Awesome. And you've partnered with Laura Bell, who's the founder of
Mm.
SafeStack. How did she react when you approached her with this idea? Um, and like, did you approach her before Onwardly, or was it after you built Onwardly? Really,
So
really hear this.
yeah, like I approached her really early on before there was any company to speak of, and I'd worked with her a little bit in a previous role, so we knew each other a little bit. Like, she was generous enough to make time to have a coffee, and I sort of laid out this set of problems that I could see in this idea to start a company, and she said, "That sounds amazing. This is something I can get on board with. How can I help you?" And I was kind of surprised because uh, you know, I thought there would be a lot of skepticism and perhaps a lot of like, that'll never work. But Laura's just a relentless optimist, and
Yeah.
she's a real change agent. And
And I
so,
love that about her. She's such an amazing person. I mean, I got an opportunity to meet with her online, not in person,
mm,
but she was super friendly.
yeah,
Again, she did not judge me like other people when they say, "Oh, you don't come from
yeah,
this background. What you're trying to do?" But she was just push, and she still do. Just keep doing
yeah,
on, keep going on, and do what be passionate about what you're doing. And if you're stuck, just give me a call. We're this
yeah,
we're not friends who are going out of a coffee every day, but I'm more than happy to help. So yeah, love
yeah.
Laura.
I mean, there's a reason why she was nominated in the high tech awards, for in terms of the influential people and things like that. I think, she's done it for lots and lots of people. She's done it for
Yeah,
you, for me, for,
yeah,
for many other people. So yeah, she was great, and we keep talking about it. And we, over a series of months, went back and forth, and then eventually I said, "Well, hey, look, I'd love you to come on board as an advisor to what I'm doing, because I think I can't really do this alone." And I think it's interesting because she sort of can't really. She felt like she tried to do something similar to this in the past, but couldn't necessarily do it on her own either. And it takes sort of a blending of security professional sort of insiders and people who are kind of almost outside the industry combined to actually deliver a totally kind of new experience to the market. And so that's what we've done. And she's invested. I continue to talk to her regularly, and she's an advisor, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, and I've been following Onwardly's journey from very early on, and I think actually I got to know about Onwardly through Laura Bell's social media.
Mm,
It's like, oh,
mm.
she is now the advisor and investor for this company. That must be super, super amazing company. And here we are talking to each other today.
There you go.
And how have your potential customers have reacted to Onwardly? What do they think about the product?
It's got, yeah, the reaction's been great. And like it really is fulfilling a genuine need I think they have in their
Mhm.
world. I've been quite selective about the customers that I've brought on to begin with in terms of who I've targeted and who I've really sold to.
Mhm.
And so, it's designed to be a really perfect fit for them. I was in a product demo just a week or two ago, and like I was doing it to four people, and they were sort of different, sort of all senior management in the company. And back of my mind, I was wondering, okay, how's this going to go? Because
Yeah.
sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating when you're speaking to basically all of the heads of a company. And then but the way that sort of I communicated to them, listened to their particular challenges, was able to say, hey, look, I can solve all of these. This is exactly what I'm at least designed for. Afterwards, they two of the folks in the meeting independently messaged me and said, look, that was just really, really good. It's a perfect problem for us, perfect definition, perfect solution. And that was, one of the best demos we've seen. And so that worked. That sort of feedback just really helps you understand that you're on the right path to delivering a product that people really need. And they're a business that's squarely in that kind of customer profile of mine that I'm targeting, that just has the perfect needs for. So feedback's been really, really good so far. And we're only sort of 7 months into selling it, so
Yeah.
there's still lots of learnings to happen. Developing a sort of ongoing program of continuing to talk to customers is really important for me. So,
Mhm.
getting on the phone, continuing learning about their world helps build a better product. Obviously, helps support them and build a successful business long term.
I'm so excited
So,
to hear that. And do you plan on going global or are you only
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
100%?
So this
Wow.
is absolutely a global play. The nice thing about security work, I guess, is that it's sort of global. Like everybody has the same challenges, more or less. There are some compliance differences, obviously, and environmental
Yeah.
differences on a country by country or state by state level. But by and large, the fundamentals are kind of the same.
Yeah.
So I believe I can really help, just about any organization in the world, with Onwardly. So the plan is absolutely to go global. We're starting just in a sort of a step by step approach, New Zealand, then Aussie, and then
Yeah.
sort of the rest of the
Yeah.
world from there. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your
mm,
time today, Phil. It was great knowing you and a little bit more about Onwardly and your collaboration with Laura and other things. I think you're doing incredible work in this space. So thank you so much for your time once again. It was lovely, lovely to have you on the show, and looking forward to your success. Wishing you all the very best. And if you need my help with anything, please feel free to give me a call.
sure. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure.
It was my pleasure too. Thank you.